Hey folks, this is Matthew, dietitian with Food and Friends, back with another episode of our Nutrition in the Kitchen webinar series. Today, we're making a recipe that's fast enough for a weeknight, fancy enough for a date night, and still tasty enough to make the kids happy. We're making cornflake-crusted cod with a mustard butter broccoli, all on one pan. Let's get into it. One of my favorite things about cooking is finding new ways to use ingredients, and in this recipe, we move cornflakes from the breakfast table to the dinner menu. From our grocery delivery or the store, you'll need cod, cornflakes, obviously, parsley, a lemon, 1 egg, and broccoli. We've cut up a few different vegetables on this show already, but to chop up these miniature trees, I recommend standing it upside down and then using your knife to trim off the individual florets. Broccoli is a great vegetable, as it can be cooked many different ways and has large amounts of both fiber and vitamin C. Once you've trimmed off all the florets, including the large bunch at the top, hold on to that stem. You can chop it right up and add it in, use it to make soup, or my personal favorite, pickle it with some salt, sugar, and vinegar. This time, I'm just using the florets, and I'm going to chop some of the larger ones to get them all pretty uniform in size. Having a flat side will also help them caramelize on a sheet tray in the oven. Once they're chopped, place them into a large mixing bowl with plenty of room to toss. Coat. Coating the broccoli in olive oil will help the seasoning stick to it. Speaking of seasonings, we're going to add salt and pepper. This is also a good time to potentially add other seasonings like garlic powder or red chili flakes here if you like things a little spicy. Spread these out onto a baking sheet, keeping space between the florets to allow steam to easily escape. Getting any flat sides down will help develop more color as they cook. As you're spacing them out, leave a small area in the middle of the pan where your fish will go later, since the broccoli will take just a few minutes longer to cook. We're going to place that pan in a 400-degree oven for a few minutes while we get the cod ready. For the cornflake coating, placing the cereal in a bag can help contain messes. If you've had a stressful week, this is a perfect opportunity to get out some aggression. Or you can crush the flakes in a much more reasonable manner. You want to break the crumbs up fairly small to help with coating, but not so fine that you lose the crispy texture. To this bag, we'll add a teaspoon of garlic powder, as well as a teaspoon of melted butter, but you can feel free to add any other seasonings here that you would like. Old Bay would go very well. You want to squish the bag to mix everything up. You especially want to make sure that the melted butter moistens all the cornflake crumbs. By coating these crumbs in butter, you'll help to brown them in the oven, making them even crispier and tastier. Once these have been thoroughly mixed, you'll want to add in some freshly chopped parsley, first twisting the leaves off the stems, and then rolling them together. This will allow you to run your knife through them, chopping them up finely. Once you've gone through once, work it back through the pile with your hand on top of the knife to prevent yourself from adding any fingers into the mix until they're nice small flakes. With lots of practice and a little video editing, you'll be chopping just as fast. Next, we need to make an egg wash to stick the cornflakes to the fish. Beat 1 egg with a tablespoon of mustard. I chose Dijon, which is already here, until thoroughly combined. Use both circular and up and over wrist motions to fully break up the egg proteins. Once this mix is completely homogeneous, season with a little salt and pepper, and then give it one final mix. When you're cooking this at home, making the breading and egg wash before putting the broccoli in the oven can help save you some time. For the cod or anything that you're going to batter, bread, or coat, it's very important to dry it extremely well before coating. Especially after thawing, fish can have a lot of water, so a great way to do this is to salt the fish a few hours beforehand and leave it uncovered in your fridge before using kitchen towels or paper towels to remove the extra water. Once your fish is totally dry, set up a 3-station breading process. Place it in the egg wash with one hand and make sure it is well coated but without any excess, before using your other, dry hand to pile on cornflakes and roll around until crusted. Especially if you're doing more than one at a time, using this two-hand method will help prevent you from having breadcrumbs stuck to your fingers. Don't be afraid to pat down on some of the cornflakes to make sure that they stick on well. This will go into the same oven with the broccoli. Since I'm using an industrial convection oven, the broccoli got done much faster than I expected it to. But at home, they can easily go on the same tray. The broccoli should take between 18 and 22 minutes to roast, and the fish about 15 to 20, so adjust your times accordingly. Once your broccoli is out of the oven, it's getting mixed in a bowl with more Dijon mustard, a couple splashes of vinegar, and a bit more melted butter. Most people don't think of butter as being part of something healthy, and you definitely shouldn't use lots of it or use it as a primary cooking fat. But using small amounts of butter for added flavor is perfectly fine, especially if it helps you eat more vegetables in the process. Once all those ingredients are in there, mix them up either with a spoon or by tossing together until they form a sauce. And then plate that broccoli up with your fish and a lemon wedge for squeezing, and you're all done. Look at that fancy, sophisticated twirling technique. So I'm here with Mike. He's our communications manager. He was actually behind the camera for most of the filming of this. He's relatively new here, so we wanted to welcome him to Food and Friends by making him try my food before I would taste it. So
all right.
Go ahead. Feel like need a little squeeze of lemon over top of this. And get on in there. So making sure that fish flakes is a good way to know that it's done. Sure. Yeah, I like having that crust on top really adds a little bit of texture to the fish, but absolutely doesn't do too much about covering up the natural flavor. I need a knife to eat this a little bit more efficiently, but yeah. How's the broccoli?
Excellent.
That's actually just one of my favorite ways to eat it at home. Mustard, vinegar, a little bit of butter.
Nice.
Eat your vegetables. They can be delicious.
I will make this broccoli at home.
Good. I hope you do.
Yeah.
Let me know.
All right.